Hello, everyone. This is BJ from the Financial and Security Products Association. Welcome to today's webinar from POPi. Before we get started, I'm just going to do a little housekeeping. I want you to know that you will be muted during the program. We are recording this and we want to keep the audio clear. We do encourage questions, so please use the question box on your webcast viewer, and I will be monitoring this during the presentation. At the end, we will take your questions up one by one at the end of the program, and we will stay until all the questions are answered. I will be uploading this webinar to the FSPA website. I'll promise to get it done by early next week. The other question that always comes up is, can we get the slides or presentation? You will get an email from POPi after the webinar that will give you the contact information to follow up with them. With that said, I'd like to turn the presentation over to Mike Maris at POPi.
Thanks, BJ. Appreciate that. Thank you for everyone that is on here today. My name's Mike Maris, and I'm going to be handling the presentation today for POPi Video Banking. My goal today is to spend the time to hopefully fully educate you on what's happening around video banking today. You know, obviously this topic has gotten far more interesting after all of our sort of shared experience in 2020, you know, where video in general, video conferencing in general just became such a big part of so many people's lives, whether it's kids going to school or, you know, children taking dance classes or, you know, ways to connect with friends. Video banking is no different. You know, in 2020, we were really put to the test, and we had so many financial institutions with branches that were closed. They were looking for delivery channel options to keep their staff serving their clients, and you know, that's where video banking really kind of saved the day for so many of them. By way of introduction of who we are as a company, some of you might be familiar with our founder, Gene Pranger, and our former company name was Eugenius. Eugenius was the group that brought to market the original interactive teller machine, known as the PTM at that time. That company was sold to NCR, and now, as some of you are very familiar, that product is now widely deployed by NCR. So we literally have the same founder, a lot of the same leadership team. Some of you might know Jed Taylor. We're in the same building in Sandy, Utah, as we were as Eugenius. That really gives us a huge credibility play with so many financial institutions, knowing that you know, we've been involved in video banking for, you know, kind of since the beginning. And now fast forward to today, instead of being focused on, you know, an ATM or teller type of transactions, we've shifted our focus to the sales and service aspects of what financial institutions do. So anything that a consumer would typically walk into a branch and sit down at a desk with a banker to do, those are things we're using video to support. Loan applications, new accounts, wire transfers, investment conversations, mortgage applications. You know, again, those type of sales and service activities. To give you kind of a sense of how video banking has grown over the last year, and this gives you kind of a feel for where we have POPi video banking clients. We're in rural markets and metropolitan areas. We're all across the country, almost have every state covered. But every one of these represents a bank or credit union. It's the only markets we serve. So we're pretty excited about the growth. We have financial institutions that range from, you know, 20 million all the way up to, I think, almost 35 billion now is our largest financial institution. So when we talk about video banking today, compared to maybe what you think of as a kind of a legacy thought around video banking, what we're really talking about is trying to help financial institutions meet their customers wherever they are and at their moment of need. We like to say helping them make every home a branch. And then there's an opportunity for the FIs to optimize their branch staff, to find ways to connect their staffing wherever they are with those clients. You know, and they're not always going to have to be decentralized and out in branch networks like they've traditionally been. To look at kind of what's happening around the country, here's our top use cases from our clients that have this deployed. So you can see that almost 80% of the interactions, again, are revenue generating, activities being opening new accounts and lending. So let's give you kind of a feel for what the video banking experience is like. So there's really three ways that that FIs can invite their consumers to a video banking interaction. And I'll just briefly touch on all three of these to kind of give you a feel for what the total platform is capable of. The first one is mobile video banking. And that's probably the thing that we're most known for. If you go to a trade show or you talk to bankers, or we're in a lot of roundtable discussions, and usually they're talking about the ability to be able to deliver a branch-like experience to that phone that is literally in every single person's pocket. And so what we do is we design mobile video banking applications for financial institutions. If you go into the iOS and Android stores today, you're going to find pages and pages of these applications that are out there, but they're fully branded for those financial institutions. They're typically in the store alongside their traditional mobile banking application. And a lot of times they're referred to as a virtual branch. You see like Pioneer Federal Credit in Idaho calls theirs My Pioneer Personal Assistant. You've got like Live at Sky and Video Connect. So you can kind of get a sense of how they're presenting them these out to their markets. To kind of go through the functionality of what's possible during these interactions, we've got a baseline of some really powerful features, and these are what are necessary to really offer a full end-to-end video banking collaboration session. The ability to be able to present documents to the consumer for a signature, the ability to ask for a driver's license or pay stub and have the consumer upload that, the ability to have multiple signers on a single video call, the ability to screen share and present static slides, text chat during the call. All of this means to the consumer that unlike most digital experiences that are very disconnected, so like think about any experiences you've had where you just want to do an auto loan. Maybe you try to do that from your living room at home, and so you get on your device and you're trying to fill out an application, which is very frustrating. There's a ton of abandonment that occurs when you do that. Now you've got to figure out how to talk to somebody. So now you're calling an 800 number. Maybe they now need your pay stub and your wife's pay stub, and you're trying to get that to them in some way, maybe taking a picture of it with your phone and trying to email it. All of which ends with them maybe sending you a document to review and sign in your email inbox. And half the time, financial institutions are wondering 2 weeks later why it still hasn't been signed. Very disconnected experience. We're trying to pull this into one seamless experience. So when you think about it from a mobile device perspective, let's say I do go into one of these apps, then I'm immediately going to be in a face-to-face experience with that bank or credit employee, and we can talk verbally during the experience, and then there's all the collaborative elements that they can share below. And that includes, again, document presentation, so the ability to send a document for them to review, all the way through signing of that document. So again, you could open an account or do a loan application or any of those things from start to finish. There's even the ability to accept a check for deposit during a video call. So now you start thinking in terms of this being a very comprehensive solution. So from a mobile perspective, that device is just absolutely perfectly suited for a video banking experience. The other opportunity around a video banking experience is adding a button to a website. So there's been a lot of financial institutions that have begun to add these buttons to websites, maybe even in lieu of or place of a chat-only experience. We end up with the same conversion rates on our video banking platform as if you have a client walk into a brick and mortar location. Same outcomes, about an 85% close rate. So if you can get them into a branch-like experience from the website, again, you've got those good outcomes. To give you a sense of what the website experience is like, so we're just talking about adding a button to the website. There's an example that's Cobalt Credit in Nebraska. Here's another example, Pathway Bank. You can see their button prominently placed here. If I clicked on Pathway Bank's button there, this is where I would then be presented with call routing options. So I could pick and choose the product or service I need help with today. And these green buttons would enable me to be able to enter into a queue, and the first available representative would answer my call. But banks are taking this even further, again, trying to build a personal relationship even through a digital channel. There's this view all team members option. If I click on that, now in a video banking experience, I could even see individual bankers who are immediately available to take my video call. And if I clicked on any of these green buttons, I would immediately be routed to any of these 3 individuals. And in a matter of moments, I feel like I sat down at their desk and they'd be able to take care of whatever I needed all the way through signature. So it's a frictionless, easy, personalized experience that really does sort of match that branch strategy. We even have a new version of our website widget that enables them to be able to choose how they want to come into the call. It's a new product called Pop Welcome. It doesn't always have to be immediately a video experience. They can choose to come in as chat only, voice only, or video. And so we got quite a few FIs that are now giving their consumers choices of how they would like to come into that conversation, and then escalate from there, into potentially a full-blown experience. The third opportunity, and this has become really big in branches, is using video within an existing branch location. And to give you kind of a feel for what this experience looks like, here's just one example of what this could look like in a branch location. In this example, that would be the banker popped out on the larger screen. That's a webcam underneath it. That's a touchscreen on the desk. We could deliver all the collaborative elements, including documents to review and sign. That's a scanning device over on the right. That happens to be a document camera, so the consumer would simply put a document on the table and immediately upload it to that banker. That's a signature pad, which is also supported in a speaker microphone combo on the left. How this has traditionally been used is to bring in some of those expert roles that maybe aren't present in every single branch location. So if I'm a FI and we've got 5 locations, rarely do you have a mortgage person in all 5 locations. You might not have a consumer lender or an investment role, maybe even an IRA guru. And so if a consumer walks into a branch location, instead of being told, oh, you'll have to come back on Wednesday, or you'll have to go to another location, or here's a phone number, call this number, they're able to be served immediately in that branch location by one of those experts. In addition to the expert roles, though, we've got several examples, like Vibrant Credit in Illinois, for example. They do 100% of their lending over video. Now, that might be a bit radical for some financial institutions, but in their model, they used to have 25, 30 loan officers throughout their branch network. They now have 8. They're all centralized, they're all expert level, and they're all at full capacity. So for them, it was a big efficiency play to optimize branch locations. We have another example, Union Bank in Michigan. They had an opening for a new account role in a branch, and they just really weren't that busy. So they decided, instead of filling that new account role, they would use video to enable another new account rep in a different location to support both branches. And it worked out really well for them. So now that one new account rep is, at full capacity and serving 2 locations, and they ended up not having to fill that full-time employee role. But to give you kind of a feel for what the in-branch experience is like, it can come in a lot of different forms and sizes. Sometimes you're, have the agent popped out like that. Sometimes you might be in a more traditional environment with just a single monitor deployment, which we have a dynamic version of that. So it's really nice on a single monitor experience. But, in this example, it's a very kind of conservative, traditional look. Some are going to be really techie and modern. This is Idaho Central Credit Union. They have these booth type of environments. So it can vary depending on, what you want that environment to look like. Some may not have space to be able to dedicate an entire office space or have a private room for this experience. And it might just be that they're going to use a tablet or an all-in-one device. And instead of an office space, they have a cubby or a cubicle or a, comfy couch or chair somewhere that they can direct clients to use. Now, here's the really exciting part, is I talk about all 3 of these as individual channels. but the reality of it is it's one platform. So if I had walked into a branch, and let's say I'm meeting with Courtney here, who's a mortgage specialist, and my wife's at home with the kids, or she's at her place of work, my wife could join this meeting from her mobile device, even though I'm in branch, and we could collaborate right alongside each other all the way through signature. So banks can have their customers in different locations, all on their own devices, all collaborating together, which is huge for a lot of banks and credit unions because it's really hard. I might walk in to talk about a new truck loan, and now I've got to, get my wife to come back in there with me. And there's a lot of abandonment that occurs and a lack of conversion because of that. So instead, you can offer, hey, why don't we bring her right in? And let's get her pay stub and let's get her signature on the application and get this all taken care of for you today. So you can just imagine some of the opportunities around that. The other topic is for financial institutions is who is Courtney in this picture? Where is she located? Who is she in the bank? And so to kind of talk about that from a strategy perspective, oftentimes Courtney's going to be part of a contact center team, maybe dedicated video resources that are part of the contact center. Something that looks like this, where they have backdrops and webcams and headsets. Now, my background was actually in banking, so I had a 15-year banking career, and for a lot of that worked in a branch. If I was going to get back into working for a bank or a credit union, this is the branch I'd want to run. Give me 4 or 5 people, let's launch video banking. And this branch would quickly become the most efficient, cost-effective, highest producing, very inexpensive to offer extended hours. We could serve customers wherever they are and at their moment of need. We'd be able to cover those new geographic markets. Maybe the credit union's got, a new charter with some additional counties. No problem. We've got them covered. We're going to put a branch in every single person's pocket. So this is, when we talk about this, it's about creating a true virtual branch is really what we're talking about. And we even have some FIs that are starting to create secondary brands that are completely digital, and a lot of really interesting stuff going on out there when it comes to how they're leveraging video banking. So all of this to say that video banking is here, it's robust, it's a real delivery channel. We're starting to see significant marketing campaigns going on out there. This is one of our clients that has video banking deployed, which is Idaho Central. And we didn't even know this was up. We literally had one of our employees driving down the road in Idaho and sees this giant billboard promoting mobile video banking. So it's really exciting to see, that type of marketing that's going on out there. We have real TV commercial spots. Matter of fact, we may send you a couple links to that when Brandon from our team sends out an email after this with my contact information, as well as some links with some good information. And I think you'll enjoy seeing those commercials that were produced by some FIs. We saw a ton of creativity over the Christmas season. Several financial institutions that actually hired Santa Clauses and using our platform and scheduled Santa visits with families and their children. Really exciting to see. And the ones that did this filled every single slot they had. So it was super successful for them, when they offered that as a kind of a neat thing during the holiday season. So just to kind of wrap up all of this, I just want to talk about a few stories and things that we've heard from our clients. And, we do user group meetings. We do 3 a year. So as a company, we're very user group driven. But we get stories all the time from our customers, and we almost always have, somebody teary-eyed as they're telling us, ways that they've made a difference in somebody's lives. And one comes from Pioneer Federal Credit Union, and they've been surprised at the adoption rate by some of their aging members that they have, some of those aging baby boomers, that their adoption rate's really high. But they particularly have a story of a young man that was injured in a rodeo, and he called in one day, and the member himself got pretty choked up about it. But he basically said, it's the first time he's been able to do banking on his own without relying on family and friends. And it was just huge for them to realize that branches don't work for everybody. And oftentimes, that's the only way you can do certain things. We've had stories of people that are out of country. We had one in particular that they kind of were in a tough spot and they needed their debit card limit raised. And that for them was normally something they'd need that member to sign something to be able to do that. They were able to take care of that all over video, even when they were out of country. And it was huge for them to be able to do that. So, whether it's people that are hospitalized, we have stories around certain disabilities like being hearing impaired, and stories of individuals at the bank that knew sign language and were able to, over video, use sign language as a way to communicate with that client in a very effective way. So when you're talking to your customers, anybody that's looking to grow their footprint, we've had some that even have had branch closures, and instead of leaving a market high and dry, they said, hey, we're launching this and we're putting a branch in your pocket. Growing into new markets, if you offer interactive teller machines as a provider, sometimes FIs are a little hesitant because the initial cost and investment associated with those. Sometimes we've seen this as an entry point, a way for them to get started with a video strategy. Pricing around this, just in generality, it's the one-time cost to get everything set up is about half the cost of a single interactive teller machine. I'm talking about just the box itself. So it's a really low cost of entry. The ongoing cost is roughly the equivalent of a full-time employee. So really what we're saying is that if you can use this strategy to make things more efficient and potentially not have to fill a single full-time employee role, you probably can afford this. So it's a very cost-effective way. But the point being is that if you get a video strategy stood up around POPi video banking, now they're using video, they have video agents, and most video agents are also taking care of interactive teller machines at the same time. Could be a great way to get them started down that path, around a video strategy. So those are the kind of things to hear from. Anybody's looking for branch efficiency gains, micro branches is another big category. We're actually getting ready to do our first completely unmanned branch location in Houston, Texas. So just to kind of briefly describe that to you, there was a branch location in Houston that was flooded. This FI is being able to reimagine the branch space. So they're going to take care of all of the teller transactions through an interactive teller machine. We created a custom greeter area for them. So if I'm a member and I need help, I can walk over to this big touchscreen, hit a button, and immediately be talking to somebody. And if it's something simple, something quick that I need help with, that greeter can take care of that for them. But if I need to talk to someone about a loan or a new account opening, that greeter can direct me to one of two rooms. And when I walk into the room, there's already going to be a banker on screen waving me into the room, maybe inviting me to grab some water out of the mini fridge, but it ultimately inviting me to have a seat at the desk, where in a similar experience to what I showed earlier with that branch setup, that banker in that staffless branch would be able to take care of whatever that consumer needed from start to finish, just as if they were sitting across the desk from each other. So micro branches, unmanned branch locations, those are all kind of the areas where you can listen for those cues. And then of course, mobile, digital first, mobile first type of strategies, those are the kind of areas that we fit really well into. So I'm hoping that everyone today got a pretty good feel for what video banking is, how financial institutions are using video banking. My objective today was really not to do a sales pitch on POPi video banking, but rather, to educate this group on, just video banking more generically. Now, with that said, we'd love to talk to each one of you individually, maybe, kind of have some conversations around whether or not, this as a product might fit into your overall strategies. We're referral-based organization and work with a lot of FIs. Some of you that might even be on this call, we may have a current relationship with. But Brandon from our team is going to send out an email for everybody that participated today with some content, with my personal contact information. So if you have some conversations you'd like to have around some of that, happy to do that. But that kind of concludes the presentation piece of it. And I'm going to turn it back over to you, BJ, and I think you were going to try to help facilitate some questions as they're coming in.
Yeah, and we have some. The first one is, what are the technical requirements needed to implement your video solution?
Yeah, so that's a huge advantage of our platform compared to maybe some legacy technology like a Cisco platform, for example. When you think about like Cisco or telepresence, those require dedicated proprietary hardware to do this. With our platform, let's say I'm a commercial lender. I could literally be on my laptop using my webcam on my laptop, plug my Apple earbuds in, and do a video banking call. So no proprietary hardware needed on either side of the experience. We are a software as a service. The clients can connect from any browser, and it really doesn't require any kind of dedicated hardware.
Okay. In a staffless branch, how are your customers addressing the immediate concern about cleaning and sanitation between users?
Yeah, that's a new topic, and admittedly, the branch that is going in Houston has been delayed because of COVID. And I don't know that was necessarily just, I think that was a bit of a resource constraint on their side. We had quite a few branch projects that were delayed because of COVID. My assumption is that I think their hope has been that COVID was going to subside during that experience. But now with the new reality, I think you're right. That is something they're probably going to have to maybe address, or maybe they offer cleaning supplies there that the clients can self-use. But that's an interesting question and something that I've not heard what their answer is on.
Okay. When you present this to an FI, do they have to implement all three pieces of it? Can they just do one, start one first, and then expand into the others?
Yeah, these can be a la carte, and it's pretty common for NFI to, start with just one of these channels and then add additional channels. For example, they might start with in-branch because they're kind of solving the challenge they have in a new location, or maybe a micro branch they're opening, and then they add mobile. They bolt mobile on later, so they can go a la carte, in that strategy. Most financial institutions, when they launch this, are typically going to do some form of all three, but we, in our case, we do offer an a la carte strategy.
Okay. Next one is, how do FIs consumers feel about video banking? Are there different demographic segments adopting use, or specific ones who prefer in-person and avoid the video banking?
Yeah, that's actually something in the sales process that I occasionally run into, is somebody that says, well, I wouldn't want to be on video, or I wouldn't want to participate in a video banking call. And you do hear that sometimes. I think when most people see it, they realize that video is, although it is an important element of it, it's not the only element of it. Kind of going back to those standard features, there's so much more to it than just a video conference call. The ability to be able to, yes, create that feeling that you're sitting across the desk from each other, but the ability to be able to virtually slide a piece of paper across that sort of digital desk, if you will, and ask for a signature is huge. So, it's so much more than the video. Now, I will say that the video is important, and oftentimes it takes getting somebody sort of just comfortable with the idea, and they see the value in that. But it is a legitimate objection that we hear, which is being uncomfortable on video. Oftentimes, finance institutions are picking the individuals that are going to staff this. Sometimes they'll even interview them over video. Clearly they want to make sure these team members are comfortable being on video. Sometimes it's a promotion within that organization. Sometimes they're paid higher as part of the context and when they are a video agent. But it's a good point. It's something that we do talk through with finance institutions when it comes to video.
Mike, it's my personal opinion that certainly we've all gotten used to being on video a lot more than we were a year ago.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. No, that's true. And I've even seen that. Some of you guys may have even seen this when you do a Zoom session now or a GoToMeeting. How many more people turn their camera on now? Doing customer-facing meetings, it used to be kind of a little hard sometimes to get the banker to jump on video. Now they do it before I do. I think it's because that's what they're doing now is they're on video conferences. They're used to turning the camera on. They all have cameras and they're all participating that way.
All right, I've got one more, but I think you've kind of answered this is once the COVID pandemic comes to an end, do you expect the demand for video banking to still be as prevalent?
Let me respond to that because it's interesting. I think last week we had our highest call volume in our company's history. And so, we certainly were hitting some highs during the kind of the major peak of COVID, but we're exceeding those now. And today, many of the branches are back to being open. So I think some of it comes from marketing. We are seeing more mature marketing out there. Banks are doing a much better job at making sure consumers are aware of this. So therefore they're, encountering more video calls. But the truth of it is that the world is changing. And historically, if banks get mobile banking right, it has become the primary delivery channel. So if we're talking about traditional mobile banking, that is transfers and looking at balances and maybe even depositing a check through mobile, number one delivery channel for financial institutions, no longer the branch. The challenge around digital has been that doing loans and new accounts through a mobile channel has been really clunky, frustrating, and difficult for consumers. And so what we believe is that if we can get mobile right and create a really good experience, this is going to become a primary delivery channel because mobile is convenient. Everybody has a device in their pocket, and it's the way people prefer to do most things these days.
Okay, that seems to be the end of the questions. Anybody else, just to give you another minute here. All right, well, I guess that's it. So again, thank you everyone for spending your time with us today. A big thank you to Mike and the team at POPi for putting on this webinar. I appreciate your time today and hope everybody has a great afternoon.
Thanks,
thank
everyone.
you.
Thanks, BJ. Bye-bye.
Thank you.